Hello and welcome to episode of the Bubbs on Sports podcast. Today is Monday, June 5th. Hope everybody's having a day so far and had a good rest of their day yesterday. Hope everybody had a good weekend. We are coming off of an exciting sports weekend. A lot went on. A very successful weekend for the New York Yankees. Really a successful West Coast road trip for the New York Yankees as they go 4-2 on their West Coast road trip, win 2 of 3 against Seattle, would take 2 of 3 against the Dodgers after a really rough performance from Sevy on Friday night. You get 2 amazing performances from Garrett Cole on Saturday and an amazing performance last night from Domingo Germán where he only made one mistake, and that one mistake was a curveball on his second-to-last batter to J.D. Martinez, which, went out and he hung it, and it was an 0-2 pitch, and that was it. And after that, then Peralta got an infield single, and they took him out. But a very good outing for Domingo Germán. Has been very good this season. Germán putting together a very good year. Even though you've had some of the sticky stuff issues, he had the suspension, he only missed the start. He's been very solid. So a good weekend there for the Yankees. We'll open up talking about it, recapping all the games, and getting you caught up to date with them. Mets had a really rough weekend. It was kind of the weekend that we've been seeing all year for the New York Mets. They sweep the Phillies. They get within 3.5 games of the Braves. You're thinking to yourself, all right, if they take 2 of 3 at least against the Blue Jays, you go into that Atlanta series with the division at least in contention. Not that you're going to take over the division, but you can go into that Atlanta series at least 3.5 games out and find a way to somehow keep the division race tight. And then the Mets get swept by the Blue Jays, and they now move to third place in the division. They're now 5.5 back, and all of the hope that was gains from that Phillies series has all been lost. And that's been the story of the Mets year. So we'll get into that here as well later on. We'll also get into Lindor as he continues to be atrocious for the New York Mets, and it is really looking like the first big signing for Steve Cohen is looking like a bust. His first year wasn't good. Last year was better, but let's be honest here. Even last year, Lindor wasn't quite Lindor. He wasn't quite the guy that the Mets were looking for. Sure, he was solid. Sure, the RBI numbers were up there and all that stuff. But when you look at the overall numbers, it wasn't quite Lindor-type numbers. And again, we're seeing this trend again this year where he's not putting up anywhere close to the numbers that he usually puts up in his career. So we'll get to Lindor as well as he continues to be one of the main focal points of the Mets' struggles on offense. So we'll get to him later on. Heat took Game 2 last night. Nuggets missed a ton of shots. Heat got the win. A fourth-quarter comeback. Outscored the Nuggets by 11. So they even up the series. And again, I'm kind of surprised, but I talked about this on Friday. If they can find a way to steal a game in Denver, get that series back to Miami 1-1, Heat got to be feeling pretty good about themselves. And last night, the Nuggets gave away that game. The Nuggets had no business losing that game last night, and they did. And that's the second game in a row now. Despite the Nuggets winning Game 1, that's the second game in a row where there's only been 2 games. But that's Game 2 already. We've seen the Heat come back in games. The Nuggets were winning by a lot in Game 1. They won by 11, but the Heat outscored them by 10 in the fourth. And then we saw it again last night. They outscored them by 11 in the fourth. So the Nuggets got to close out these games. They got to do a better job in the fourth quarter hitting shots, hitting them late against this Miami Heat team that's feisty. And we know that about them. So we'll get to that later on. So we'll start off today with the Yankees. We'll get to the Mets. We'll get you ready for what's going on tonight. Game 3 will be Wednesday for the Nuggets Heat. Got a lot on tap here as we come out of the weekend here on this Monday show. And we're going to start here with the New York Yankees. What a weekend it was for the Yankees. Obviously, you go into the weekend with the whole Dodger series. There's so much excitement. There's so much anticipation. The historic franchises, all of the World Series, births between the two, all of the, 11 matchups in the World Series. The Yankees are 8-3 all time. We haven't seen a World Series matchup in a very long time. Maybe we get that this year, but it's always fun when the Yankees visit the Dodgers. And, you get, it's in L.A., big market, all the stars are out. Spike Lee there. I'm sure there was a ton of other big names there. Nationally televised 2 days in a row. So much excitement going in. Haven't had this series since 2019, which was the last time the Yankees played the Dodgers. That's what's nice about playing every team in the MLB, is you get Yankee-Dodgers matchups, and you get some of these other really good matchups that you usually wouldn't get. Occasionally you would get in interleague play, but you wouldn't get every year, which we're now going to get these Yankee-Dodgers matchups every year, and it's awesome. There's so much history between the two franchises. Great ballpark, big series, two good teams this year, a lot of fun. So the Yankees overall go 4-2 on their West Coast trip. Before we really take a deep dive into what took place over the weekend, they come out of their West Coast trip with a 4-2 record. They are now 36-25 on the season. They're an even 6 games back of Tampa. They're now 6-4 in their last 10, and they've obviously won 2 straight. So you go into that Seattle series, you get game 1, you take game 1 and game 2 by big margins with 2 10-run victories. Then you go into Friday night, and you've got Sevy on the bump. And Sevy struggled, right? He wasn't good. 6 runs in the bottom of the first. That game was over basically before it even started. But again, I said this on my baseball podcast that I do over the weekend. I say this all the time. I said this, throughout this past weekend. I said it a lot. There was a lot of positive things to take away from that game, even though the Yankees lost and they got crushed and they lost 8-4. You had Donaldson return. He had 2 big home runs. You had Stanton return. He had a big home run. Stanton also had a big double yesterday, which really got things started for the New York Yankees. That was a big hit to get some runs across and put the Yankees on the board and all that stuff. So he had another big hit yesterday. But them two together put up all 4 runs. Because you had Donaldson with a 2-run shot. He had a solo shot. And then Stan had a solo shot. So Stan and Donaldson were a really big 1-2 punch for them in game 1 of that series. And Canely came out and pitched well. So despite the Yankees losing game 1, you're thinking to yourself, all right, they got crushed. Sevy wasn't good. You have Garrett Cole on the mound tomorrow. You feel good about your chances with Cole on the mound. That's why you pay him all the money for games like that. Second game of a big series. You also obviously pay him the money for the post-game success or postseason success, but you want him out there in big games. You want him out there in big spots in the series, whether it's a rubber game, whether it's the middle game where you got to get the win in order to put yourself in to win the series in the finale, and Cole did just that. But despite the bad loss on Friday, which made it 2 straight losses in a row, and that was a really frustrating loss on Wednesday night to lose 1-0 where you had 3 games where they put up 30 runs in 3 games. They put up 10 on San Diego last Sunday. They put up 10 in games 1 and 2 against Seattle, and then you can't put up a single run in 10 innings against Seattle. Is a tough loss in game 3. They still won the series, but then you mount that with the loss on Friday. You kind of just felt like, as a fan, you really wanted these next 2 games. And the Yankees did that. But despite the loss, you still saw a lot of positives. You still saw a lot of positives with Stanton back out there playing well. Donaldson out there getting 2 big home runs. And Canely working a nice clean inning together. And really came out of it healthy. And that's the most important thing. And obviously Donaldson got a rest day yesterday. Stanton got a rest day on Saturday. They'll both be in the lineup full steam come Tuesday. Hopefully Judge is in the lineup on Tuesday. And that's where we transition here into game 2 of this 3-game set. A lot happened in game 2. Number 1 is Aaron Judge is insane. So the Yankees get the 6-3 win. 6 runs, 6 hits, no errors. Dodgers have 3 runs, 7 hits, no errors. This game was all Yankees until the bottom of the 7th when they take out Garrett Cole. For a lot of us Yankee fans, we were sitting there thinking to ourselves, all right, what in the world is Aaron Boone doing? I'm sitting there watching the game, and I'm thinking to myself, what are we doing? Garrett Cole had 6 innings, had 5 strikeouts, was cruising, was mowing down the Dodgers lineup, up and down the order, doing what he needs to do, and then keeping that top of the order in check. 80 pitches through 6 innings. He comes out in the bottom of the 6th. They take him out after the 6th. Bottom of the 7th comes around, and Wandy just gets shelled. Didn't record an out, had 2 hits, allowed 2 runs, walk. He threw 9 pitches, only 4 strikes. He was out of there after 9 pitches. Now, he bounced back last night. Him and Clay Holmes both had some big outs last night, and Clay Holmes got the save on Saturday, which, again, I talk about this a lot with Clay Holmes. He's inconsistent, but when he's on, he's good. Been inconsistent. I don't fully trust him, but the last 2 games are really solid for Clay Holmes, and I think we can all agree with that. But in the heat of the moment, you're thinking to yourself, what in the world is Aaron Boone doing taking out the ace of this rotation, Garrett Cole, who is dominating right now? Why are we taking him out in the 6th with 80 pitches? we find out it was cramping. And I knew it had to be something. Because even Garrett Cole, and I knew it had to be something. I knew it had to be, I didn't want it to be an injury, but you felt like the only way he should be coming out is if he was injured. It was obviously cramping, but I knew it had to be something other than Aaron Boone just taking him out. Because number one, Boone I don't think would do that. I know he sometimes does it with other guys, but Cole usually works deep in the games. Like even if he's struggling a little bit, he's going to stretch him out. That's what he's going to do with Cole. And Cole, the competitive nature of that guy, he's not going to come out of the game in a Yankees-Dodgers series when you're dealing with 80 pitches. He's just not going to let that happen. So I knew it had to be something. Sure enough, it was cramping, which was unfortunate. The bullpen comes out. We get a little iffy in that bottom of that seventh where the Dodgers put up 2 runs, make it a 5-3 game. And it's funny because the Yankees sent out Wandy, lefty. And what the Dodgers did was they lined up their order where it was Hayward, Peralta, Outman, your outfield. Hayward was in right, Peralta was in left, Outman was in center. So they lined up their outfielders 7, 8, 9, or 6, 7, 8 in the order. All of them. They pinch hit for all of them. So they bring in Chris Taylor, they pinch hit for Hayward. He comes in, hits a single against Wandy. So they basically say, all right, you're gonna send your lefty out. We're gonna combat that with all righties. Send Chris Taylor out, hit a single. Send Vargas out there, hits a triple, and then brings in Trace Thompson, who was put on the IL after this game. He hits a single. And then Rojas hits a single. That was after Wandy came out. So Wandy's 3 batters. Single, triple, single, 2 runs scored. That was what Wandy did. And then obviously, you bring in Rojas, who had the double, or who had the single off of Clay Holmes, or Michael King, rather. Michael King ended up having a couple hard outs. Line out to the shortstop and Mookie. Line out to Rizzo at first by Freddie Freeman. And then he struck out Will Smith looking, which was big. And then Michael King came out there again in the 8th. And after a strikeout pass ball, he reaches on a drop third strike. That was Max Muncy. He gets a fly out. And this is right here where Aaron Judge is just not human. So JD Martinez steps up with a runner on first. Judge runs through the outfield wall. He breaks the outfield wall. He's the best player in baseball. He's not human. He had a home run in this game in the 6th to make it a 5-1 game, to put a little bit more cushion on the lead. And then he makes this incredible play in the outfield where he probably saves he definitely saves an extra base hit. Does he save a run? I'm not sure. It's either second and third and no outs, or a runner on second with a run in and no outs. It's one of those two. He crashes into the wall. He breaks the wall. He breaks the gate. There's the door to leave the bullpen was on the right side of it. That wasn't the bullpen door. The bullpen door was next to it. He broke the wall. That's not supposed to open. And obviously he was out of yesterday's game with the toe issue. Hopefully it's not broken. They asked him in the post-game how he feels about, he says it doesn't feel great, obviously. They don't really know if it's broken or not. Hopefully it's not, because if it's broken, he's going to be put on the IL, which is horrible, and you don't want that. So hopefully nothing major for Judge. But again, what this guy does on the offensively and defensively is just phenomenal. I mean, the plays he makes in the outfield, and to be able to go up there and hit 50, hit 62 home runs and be able to make the plays he's made in the outfield is phenomenal. On one West Coast trip, he made 2 of some of the better plays we've seen all year in the outfield. He robbed a homer of Teoscar Hernandez in the Seattle series, and then he stole extra bases from JD Martinez. He made the catch and ran into and broke the outfield wall, the outfield fence, gate, whatever you want to call it, at Dodger Stadium. And that's now the second stadium this year that he broke. He broke the Maple Leaf off a home run in Toronto, and then he broke the fence on Saturday in LA. Also, a couple years ago, it might have been last year, in batting practice, his ball went all the way up on the concourse and hit a TV, which is just crazy how far this guy can hit. He had a home run, makes a great play like that, saves runs, saves extra bases. What this guy does on a night in and night out basis is special. We're watching he's a superstar, is really what he is. He's the captain, putting his body on the line for the team. And we saw that again on Saturday. What a catch. Then gets another fly out, gets a strikeout. King was huge. You go to the bottom of the ninth. Clay Holmes locks it down. He had a walk to Betts. But other than that, did his job. Freddie Freeman lined out the Volpe. It's funny because when you look at this game and when you look at what the Yankees did, Judge had the big homer and the big catch. Jake Bauers took over L.A. He had a 2-run shot in the second after a LeMahieu triple. And he had a 2-run shot in the fourth after Rizzo singled. You had 2 strikeouts after that. And then Bauers comes up with 2 outs, hits another home run. And the Yankees hit 5 home runs in that game. Bauers had 1. Judge had 1. Oswaldo had 1. Bauers had 2. 4 home runs, rather. He had 4 home runs in that game. All 4 counting for all 6 RBIs. Bauers with a 2-run shot. Bauers with another 2-run shot. Then Oswaldo, which is crazy to think this. So Oswaldo got obviously optioned after that Seattle series. You go into Greg Allen gets hurt in game 1, hip flexor strain. He's all the way out in Scranton. So they call Oswaldo back up. He's in Newark Airport on Saturday morning, getting his bags checked by TSA in Newark Airport, getting on a flight to fly out to Los Angeles. He was in Newark on Saturday morning, flies out to L.A., gets there, midday, a couple hours before the game, goes to the stadium, gets his bearing straight, comes out in the ninth to pinch hit with 2 outs from the right side, hits a homer to put a little extra cushion, obviously, on the lead, make it a 6-3 game, put a little extra run support. It was really good, cool to see Oswaldo do that yesterday or on Saturday. And he had an RBI ground out yesterday, had a sacrifice, which was good. So hopefully Oswaldo can maybe find something here. I mean, that's big. Had a really solid, year last year after getting called up. Not quite the same this season, but it was good to see him get that home run. And it's crazy because the 6th spot in the order for the Yankees in that game went 3 for 4 with 3 runs, 5 RBIs, 3 homers between Jake Bauers and Oswaldo Cabrera. And Bauers has been solid. He's provided some power. He's provided some pop. Got an OPS over 800. The Yankees have obviously tweaked some things in his swing. We heard a lot about Bauers over the weekend in terms of he was thinking about retiring. He was kind of done with baseball. And then you heard that, he came back with the Yankees because they liked the way they approached hitting, liked the way they taught hitting, the way they use, the words they use to help him with his hitting and his stance and his mechanics and stuff. So you saw a lot of that, which was really good to see. You're seeing definitely the benefits for Jake Bauers for sure. So that was game 2 of the series where they get the job done. And then yesterday, there wasn't a whole lot going on until the 7th, and that's when the scoring started. The Yankees put up 4 runs. It was all in the last 3 innings. They put up 1 in the 7th, 1 in the 8th, and then put up 2 more in the 9th. This was a pitching duel. Bobby Miller was really good. 6 innings, 1 hit, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. ERA now goes from 1.64 through 2 outings, now 3 outings of 1.06. Now, through 17 innings pitched in his young Dodger career, he's only allowed 2 home runs, has struck out 16, 4 walks, has allowed obviously 2 runs and 9 hits. And he's got an ERA of 1.06. So he's been great. Young arm, strong arm, exciting young player that the Dodgers like a lot. The Yankees didn't hit him. They were able to hit off the bullpen. Graterol came into the 7th. You had the error on him where you had the grounder. It was an error. It was a ground ball. It was an error on the throw. So I'm trying to figure out. Forget exactly what happened. So you had it was a ground out. So Higgy or IKF ground. It was a slow roller, and he was gonna be safe. So it was a single, and then Higgy or IKF advanced on the throw, and Bauers also advanced to third on the throw. So opposed to first and second, 1 out, it was second and third, 1 out after a bad mistake. Bad mistake. You don't throw that ball. He did. Higgy ends up grounding out, which was a sacrifice, gets the run in. Bauers scores. Then they strike out to end the inning. You go to the 8th. You had a ground out by Torres. Then you had a walk by Rizzo. Then you had that big double by Stanton. Oswaldo comes up, grounds out, sacrifice. Rizzo scores. So the big double by Stanton gets Rizzo to third, which that ball was smoked. Then you get the ground out by Oswaldo, which is an RBI. It does the job. It's a sacrifice. Then LeMahieu lines out after that, who had a rough game yesterday. And you go to the 9th. You had a ground out by IKF. You had a walk or ground out by Bowers. You had a walk by IKF. Higgy grounded out. IKF reached the second on a wild pitch. And here comes Volpe. He had a very good game yesterday. Hits a home run. Ball was smoked. 2-run shot to make the game 4-1, which was really big. It broke the game open. Not really broke the game open, but it gave the Yankees cushion. It gave the Yankees a nice lead. It put a lot less pressure on Wandy to go out there yesterday and close the game out, and he did that. After the walk, he picked off Will Smith. He got Muncy to fly out, and he got J.D. Martinez to ground out to LeMahieu, who made a couple really good, nice plays yesterday at third, but the bat's been struggling. But it was good to see Volpe have a nice day. Went 2 for 4, run scored, 2 RBIs. Really good day for Volpe. Hopefully that's the start of something. Volpe had a really good at-bat, if I remember correctly. He had a really good at-bat. I think it was in game 2 of the series. Really good at-bat where he was looking at a lot of pitches that he usually swings at. It was those pitches on the outside corner. And then, unfortunately, he swung at one of the pitches on the outside corner and was strike 3, which is unfortunate because he was looking at a lot of them. He was laying off a lot of them. A lot of them he would usually swing at, he wasn't swinging at. And you're thinking to yourself, all right, he worked a really good at-bat. Despite the strikeout, he worked a good at-bat. He worked a 3-2 count, fouled a couple pitches off. He was laying off a lot of pitches that he usually swings at. Then yesterday you see him, he does strike out looking, but he had the ground out to start. He then had that single, which was a nice hard single up the middle line drive. Then had the homer. Hopefully this is the start. And again, this is why I wouldn't option Volpe. It's a guy that still can hit for power. He's got a lot of power. He's had a lot of big homers. That's a big homer last night. I know it's just going to go down as, it was a 2-run shot in the 9th, but he doesn't hit that home run. You put a whole lot more pressure. You're asking Wandy to protect a 1-run lead as opposed to protecting a 3-run lead. That was a big homer to give you some run support for the bullpen. So, again, you're going to have to live with what Volpe's doing. He's young. The Yankees told him at the beginning of the year, you're the shortstop for the 2023 season. You're the guy. You're him. You're the shortstop. No matter what, you are. We're going to ride with the highs. We're going to go with the lows. You're going to have to, it's going to be the daily grind. You're going to have to figure it out. And there's been stretches where he's been really solid, and then there's stretches where he struggled. He's mostly struggled, but there are little moments like this where you can see the full potential. And last night was another one of those moments. Hits a big home run, and these aren't no little league homers too. For a rookie to be, these balls are shot. They're out there. These aren't no just loopy home runs just over the wall. These are a couple rows up. And you don't see that too often for a rookie. And you see the power. You see some of the big hitting. He's had a lot of big hits in big moments. It's just about finding that consistency. That's why I wouldn't option Volpe. What is optioning Volpe going to do for him? And let's be honest here. Is Volpe stopping the Yankees from winning right now? No. And if Oswald Peraza gets called up, is Peraza really going to hit 290 and be this fantastic player? Nothing against him, but he was good last year. He wasn't great. So you got to roll with it. Good day for Volpe. Was good to see him kind of break out of it a little bit. Hopefully this is the start of a nice stretch, which he needs it. But last night was an important win. You get the series win. You do it without Judge. You wrap up a road trip that's 4-2. And you feel really good about going into this homestand. You got 3 against Chicago at home, a team that has really struggled this year. And then you got 3 against Boston to close it out. And then next week, you open up a 2-game set, obviously Subway Series, with the Mets. So we're into the month of June. The Yankees don't play a single game this month on Monday. The month of June, no games on Monday. So Mondays will be a lot of off days for the New York Yankees here, coming up here throughout the month of June. But all in all, just a really good series, a lot to like. You can see what Judge does to a lineup. The Yankees were quiet for 6 innings. They had 1 hit through 6 innings. It was a Volpe single in the 6th, which ended up being, it was a 2-out single by Volpe in the 6th. And that was it. Until, the 7th, or in the 5th, until the 7th rolled around where the Yankees were able to put up some runs, capitalized on the error. You had the big Volpe 2-run shot to put some more run support up. And Domingo Germán was great yesterday. He was phenomenal. You look at the Dodgers' top 4 guys in their order. Betts, Freeman, Smith, Muncy. Combined, they went 0 for 15 last night. Betts 0 for 4, Freddie Freeman 0 for 4, which the Yankees did a really good job this weekend containing Freddie Freeman. He had one hit this weekend. It came on Saturday. That was it. He went like 1 for, I think it was like 15 this weekend. He went 0 for 5 in game 1, even though the Dodgers put up 8 runs. So the Yankees did a good job of kind of keeping Freeman, out of it. I mean, he wasn't good. And Freeman, too, came up in a, he came up in the 6th, where they had an opportunity to put a run up. Outman stole second. Betts just struck out. Freeman had an opportunity to drive him in. He struck out. So that happened. I thought there was another moment, too, where Freeman had an opportunity to get, not a run across, but had an opportunity to try and get something started, and he couldn't. But yeah, Herman, the bullpen, did a great job yesterday. So Herman yesterday went 6 2/3, 4 hits, 1 run, 1 earned, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. ERA now on the year, 3.69. Herman's been really good. He's been really good. Very good season so far, Domingo Herman. Holmes, it was one mistake too. He would have thrown 7 full innings of, 3-hit baseball, no runs if he didn't hang the curveball to J.D. Martinez. But Clay Holmes was good, really solid. Good back-to-back days, got the save. Then yesterday came in, 1 inning, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. The bullpen was great. They covered 2 1/3, 2 strikeouts combined, 2 walks overall. Holmes was solid. Peralta picked up his 4th save. Holmes picked up the win. Yankees got the win, 36-25 now in the year, and a lot to like coming out of L.A. Now, the biggest thing now is making sure that Aaron Judge is healthy. You got to hope Aaron Judge is healthy. You get Stanton back. You get Donaldson back. You just got to hope that Judge is all right. If this is a broken toe and he's going to be out here for a little bit, that's not going to be good. So they'll get more tests today. We'll find out. We'll find out what they do. It looks like Nestor's going to go on the IL, so, again, it's been frustrating. The Yankees seem to be getting healthier, and then they kind of lose a couple guys. You just wait until this team can get the full strength for a good chunk of the season. You're going to get Bader back soon, hopefully. Nestor, they're saying he might only miss a start or two, so it doesn't seem like it's anything too major. It's just to, rest him a little bit. It seems like he's been feeling a little bit of this pain in between starts. It's just a little bit of straining, but it's only going to be a little bit of a rest. So he'll probably only miss about a start or two. So it doesn't seem like it's probably going to be the minimum 10-day IL for Nestor or 15-day IL. It won't be anything major. It's not like this is going to be something that's going to sideline him for the entire month and he'll be back in August, right? It's minor, but hopefully you're getting Rodon back soon. Bader, it's going to be a couple weeks. I would like to see Bader back in June, maybe July. I don't know quite when we'll see Bader back again. It's a hamstring. Stanton was dealing with a hamstring. So he was a while. Is Bader healing quicker? I don't know. We'll see with Bader, but Rodon's on the way back. Nestor, if it's minor like that, it's basically like a suspension if he's only going to miss a start or two. That's basically what it is. It's basically a sticky stuff suspension and then just one other missed start. So it doesn't seem like anything major with Nestor, but hopefully that's all it is. Rodon back soon. He's throwing a lot. I think he's throwing to batters. It might be tomorrow or today, I think, or tomorrow. I don't know. It's one of these days. He'll throw to batters, and then shortly he'll start a rehab assignment. He might be back before July, honestly. Before July. Probably, his projected time to be back was July. It's early June, and he's already throwing a live batters. It seems like he went from like this type of rehab where it was kind of slow to now he's just full steam ahead. It seems like he's just plowing through. It seems like he's ahead of schedule. From last we heard with the chronic back issue when he said he might be out until like mid-July. It's early June, and he's already throwing live batters. I mean, he's got to be soon closing in on a rehab assignment, I would assume, right? I don't know. We'll see. So, healthier. Hopefully Judge is all right. If Judge is out, that's a huge loss. And you're enjoying this win today, but in the back of your mind as a Yankee fan, you're just hoping that Judge is okay, because if he's out, I know the Yankees got the win yesterday, but you could see this offense is just not the same without Aaron Judge. And you don't have Bader either. So you're asking a whole lot out of like Rizzo, Torres, and you're asking those 3 guys in the order, especially with LeMahieu, who hasn't been good. LeMahieu's been horrible this year. And I wish I could pinpoint an issue with LeMahieu. I like LeMahieu a lot, but he has been abysmal this season at the plate. I mean, he's batting 240s for a guy that's, for a guy that, his first 2 years with the Yankees was batting above 300. He's almost he's all like 80 points below his. I mean, he's like a career 290 hitter. He's like 50 points less than that. I don't know if it's still the foot that's bothering him. It could just be age. I mean, sometimes guys, as they get older, I mean, I talk about this a lot. I mean, he is 34. He'll be 35 in July. I talk about this a lot with LeMahieu where sometimes, or not with LeMahieu, but with athletes in general, sometimes the guys, when they get old, they have a gradual fall off, and sometimes it's just like this. And I don't want to say it, but LeMahieu might just be LeMahieu might just be at the end. Again, I don't want to sound negative. I know that sounds awful, but he's batting 239 this year. His OPS has dipped below 700. I mean, this is a career 295 hitter. This is a guy, even when he was considered struggling with the Yankees, he was still batting at least in the 260s. This is a guy that's batting in the 230s. So it's tough. It's tough to watch because you know that he should be better than this. All in all, he had a good start to the year. Like, he had a pretty solid start. His first couple games of the first 2 weeks of the year, he was solid, and then he's kind of fallen off. And there's always those stretches where, like, he had in the San Diego series where he went 2 for 3 and he had an RBI and a homer. And we were still getting those DJ LeMahieu games where he'll go 2 for 4 with an RBI single and a double. And then you get like these stretches where he goes like 0 for 4 and the strikeout rate's way up. He's not a guy that strikes out a ton. He's striking out a lot. Defensively, though, he's still been good. And yesterday he made made like 3 really nice plays. So defensively, he's been good. Offensively, though, it does put more pressure on Donaldson, though, because he's got to be right. If Donaldson's not right, then you're getting basically nothing out of third base. You've got to get something here from Donaldson, hopefully, because LeMahieu's not giving you enough right now. So that is my one concern with the Yankees, if there was much. But right now, a lot of things to be happy about if you're a New York Yankee fan. Now, if you go to the other side of New York, there isn't much to be happy as a Mets fan. As they get swept by the Phillies, or they sweep the Phillies. Now they get swept by the Blue Jays over the weekend. They now fall back to 30-30 on the year. They continue this trend of treading water. They now continue to struggle. They're continuing to embarrass themselves. They did it again over the weekend. And if you're a Mets fan today, Citi Field, there's a lot to be upset about. And this Mets team continues to have these stretches where they look good and then they struggle. Look good, struggle. And I'll just take you what the last 2 weeks have been for the New York Mets. So you have the big series win against the Rays. You sweep the Guardians. You go on the road trip. You lose 2 of 3 against Chicago. You lose 2 of 3 against the Rockies. You come back home, you sweep the Phillies, and then now you get swept by the Blue Jays. And you get swept in pathetic fashion, leaving runners on, not being able to hit. Verlander gives you a really good performance on Friday night. You get shut out. You score 1 run on Saturday. You lose the game with an RBI double by Vlad Guerrero in the 9th. And then again yesterday, it was the pitching that failed him. It was Kodai Senga, who was awful yesterday. Probably maybe his worst start of his young MLB career. After having a really solid past couple of starts, he was not good yesterday. So again, we're seeing the inconsistency from the New York Mets. And the bottom line is this. They're going nowhere right now. They're just not. And I know when you look at, again, they're 30-30. This is just the way they are. They're 5.5 back in the division. They're now run differential of -12. It got up in the positives there for a little bit. It's now back into the negatives. Their 3-game losing streak. They continue to inconsistently be able to put up runs. You saw again over the weekend. They were 0 for 19 with runners in scoring position against the Blue Jays in a 3-game series. The Mets' offense is pathetic. It's pathetic. I mean, they can't Some games they can't even put runners on. And when they do put runners on, they can't get them through. And there's times where we talk about this a lot with offenses in baseball. We've talked about this with the Yankees at times, where they're either too reliant on the whole run ball, or they can get runners on, they just can't drive them in, or they just, bottom line, they just can't get them on. But when they are on, they can drive them in, but they have a tough time getting runners on. Every offense has its struggles and its weaknesses. With the Mets, it's a little bit of everything. First of all, they're guys that are supposed to be hitting. They're big bats. They're big money guys aren't hitting. Outside of Nimmo and Alonso, really. And even Alonso, it's a lot of power. He hit another home run yesterday. That's what he brings. He's not your contact guy. He's your power guy. In order for Alonso to really be this big-time asset, you need runners on so he can drive them in. They never give Alonso any opportunities to get on with runners on because they don't get up with runners on because they don't put runners on. But the top of the order hasn't been good. You know, calling up the kids can only go so far. When they're getting benched every other day, when they're not getting consistent playing time, it's tough for them to truly develop. Alvarez has been good. Beatty and Vientos have shown some positives. Mauricio continues to hammer and dominate at AAA. When is he going to get called up? Who knows? But at the end of the day, when you look at this Mets team, sure, the kids can help. Sure, you can mix around the lineup. But at the end of the day, some of your top guys have just got to be better. The top of the order has got to be better. I mean, Lindor is a guy we're going to be talking about today. He's been pathetic this season. I know Canna's turned it around a little bit within the past couple games. He had a good series against the Phillies, but his whole body of work this year hasn't been good either. Starling Marte has started to play a little better. Still not up to his standards. Still overall in the year, got an OPS under 700, which isn't good. But he's been a little bit better. And especially over his last 5 games or so, over his last, the Blue Jays series, he was all right. But the main guy in all of this, because when you look at it, the Mets, it's like, okay, Nimmo's been all right, solid this year. He's been Nimmo. McNeil's been good, right? Alonso's hitting homers. Outside of that, when you look at the Mets, it's ugly. It's pathetic. It's embarrassing. I mean, again, the kids can only do so much. Tommy Pham was leading off yesterday. Like, what was that? What is that? How are you expected to win games with Tommy Pham being the leadoff hitter? Part of that's the depth. Vogelback's been atrocious. Again, a guy that is this big guy that looks like Babe Ruth that hits singles. That's about the right way to put it. To be honest with you, when you look at the Mets, there's 2 guys this year that, McNeil's been good. He's not quite what he was last year, but he's been all right. He's still batting .282. He's got 17 ribbies, which isn't, a whole lot, but he's got, the on bases up there. He's been all right. He's not quite 300, but he's been good. Other than that, nobody's been good. The only 2 guys that have really produced, when you look at the team leaders, batting average, it's Nimmo. Home runs, it's Alonso. RBI, it's Alonso. On base, Nimmo. Hits, Nimmo. Those are the 2 guys. Those are the 2 guys in the Mets lineup that you can fully trust. Other than that, it's a whole lot of inconsistency. And other than that, it's been a whole lot of just poor play. And there's one guy that, to be honest with you, has not even just this year, but the concerns now go back for the last 3 seasons. And that's Francisco Lindor. At some point, he's got to be held accountable by Buck Showalter. At some point, they've got to do something with this guy. He can't, I don't know what it is, but he can't continue to play this poorly, get paid this amount of money, and just flat out suck. I mean, that's the base, that's the most blatant way I could put it. This guy stinks. He stinks. The only good thing Lindor's got going for him is his 40 RBIs, which is tied for 13th in baseball. Other than that, let me give you his other numbers. He's 150 plus in baseball in the rankings with a batting average of .213. He's 132nd in baseball in OPS. He's tied for 38th in baseball with 10 home runs. That's Lindor. That's your big shortstop. And really, let's look at his numbers with the Mets. His first year wasn't good. He was pretty solid last year. Batting average of 270 was good. Was good last year. This season, back down to being abysmal. 213 batting average, 284 on base, 404 slugging, and gross. An OPS of 688. 688 OPS. Career guy of 809 OPS. This is a guy that OPS for his career is 809. He's about 120 points lower than his career average. Lindor is putting up a season even worse than his first year as a Met. This year for Lindor has been pathetic, and especially over the weekend. Over the weekend against the Blue Jays, he went 1 for 12 with 8 strikeouts and a .083 batting average this past weekend. Look at Lindor in the last 5 games. He's got 8 strikeouts, a walk. He's 1 for 19, last 5 games. 1 for 19, 8 strikeouts and a walk, .052 batting average. His overall numbers, 213, 10 home runs, 4 RBIs, 688. This guy is pathetic this season. The one thing Lindor gives you, he's in the lineup every day. That's the only thing he'll give you. Other than that, he's not producing. He's not producing. And again, a lot of people blame Buck. And sure, there are times where Buck deserves a good chunk of the blame. Everybody deserves the blame for this. Steve Cohen deserves a lot of the blame. Billy Epler deserves blame. Buck Showalter deserves blame. And to be honest with you, at the bottom line, the end of it is all at the, another point as well is the players deserve a lot of the blame too. These guys are getting paid a ton and they're just not performing. And you can only do so much. You can fire Buck Showalter. And again, his decision making has been poor at best at times this year. Sitting some of the young guys when they have good games, when they're in good stretches, to bring in Vogel back. I mean, the idea of putting Pham in the top of the order yesterday made 0 sense. But all of that, again, you can fire the coach. You can call up the young guys. The young guys are only going to do so much. Alvarez, Beatty, Vientos, they're going to have growing pains. You're seeing that right now. Alvarez has cooled off a little bit. He has. His batting average has dipped into 238. 237, rather. Not trying to crush the guy, but he's cooled off. He had a really good start. He's cooled off. He has, right? So they're going to go through growing pains. They're going to go through stretches of being really good. You can't rely on young guys to carry your team. At the end of the day, you need the veterans to perform better. They need to be better. Sure, you want to call up Mauricio, okay. But at the end of the day, guys like Lindor, guys like Marte have just got to play better. They've got to be better. They have to. Lindor has got to break out of this. The Mets aren't going anywhere if Lindor continues to hit like this. This is, the Mets brought him in to be one of the bigger pieces of the lineup, and he's been one of the worst pieces of the lineup. So, he's got to play better. You can make trades. You can do this. You can do that. At the end of the day, these guys have got to find a way to start hitting because they can't hit. They can't do any of that. Your second best hitter can't be a guy who's batting 231. Alonso's having a very good year, but he's not a guy. He's got 21 home runs, but you need more than Alonso just hitting homers. You need guys that can put up contact. You need guys that can get on base. Lindor's not even doing that. I feel like at times Lindor does get a good amount of the blame, but I also think he doesn't get enough blame. I think a lot of the blame has been put to Canna. I think a lot of the blame is put to the rotation at times, to the bullpen. Lindor was brought in here to be kind of the face of the franchise. In a way, right? In a way, he was brought in to be the face of the franchise. DeGrom was still there at the time, right? But in a way, he kind of was. Now, when you look at him, you're a big guy in the lineup. You're a big man, the guy that's supposed to produce big for you. You're shortstop. You're a $300+ million guy, 400, whatever it was. Batting 213, and that's going to help you. And that's going to give you success. Marte's gotten a lot of blame. Marte hasn't been good. I'm not trying to back up Marte. But when you look at the numbers with Marte, He's batting .250 for the year, 3 home runs, 17 ribbies, 648 OPS, 37 strikeouts. He hasn't been good, but you'd probably say Lindor's been worse. Now, when you look at Marte, and again, Starling Marte recently has been a little bit better. He goes against the Blue Jays this weekend. He went 4 for 11 with a batting average of .363, 2 runs, an RBI, a double, a homer, 3 Ks, and a stolen base. Now, his last 5 games, he's 4 for 16. That's a .250 batting average, 3 runs, a double, home run, RBI, 4 Ks, a stolen base. You look at Lindor's numbers, they've been pathetic the last 5 games. And Lindor really hasn't gone on this heater yet. He hasn't gone on this hot streak yet. Look at Lindor in the month of April. 221, 315, 463, 778. Marte in April, 195, 287, 286, 573. Both pathetic. You look at the month of May, 266, 310, 319, 629 for Marte. You look at it for Lindor, 227, 273, 412, 685. And the month of June so far for Marte, it's only been, 11, it's only been 14 ABs or whatever. It's been such a small sample size. But 308, 357, 615, 973. That's his slash line. You look at Lindor in June so far, it's .0667. 125, 0.067, 192. So at least you can see a little bit of a upward trend with Marte. It's not good. It's not up to the standards, but it's been better. Lindor's gotten worse. His slash line to start June is gross. It's pathetic. He's got an OPS of 192. Again, small sample size, but a big series over the weekend, and he went 1 for 12 with 8 strikeouts. That's your big money shortstop? Again, a lot of the blame goes everywhere. There's a lot of blame. Many people say this is the worst team money can buy. Well, who spent that money? It was Steve Cohen. He deserves blame. Epler as well. Him and Cohen made all the moves in the offseason. Buck Showalter deserves blame with some of his lineup management. Putting in Vogelback all the time doesn't make much sense, but Buck likes to do it. Playing the veterans sometimes doesn't always make much sense, but Buck likes to do it. And I get all that. But also a good chunk of the blame goes on the players, and specifically Francisco Lindor. He's got to be better. If he continues to play like this, the Mets aren't going anywhere. I don't care how many young kids you call up, how many young guys you call up, how many rookies you got, how much potential they have. If Lindor hits like this, the Mets aren't going anywhere. They just aren't. So, yes, this weekend for the Mets offense as a whole, they batted 177, 2.5 runs per game, 554 OPS, and at 133 with runners in scoring position. That's been their last 6 games. So, that was the homestand. Despite the win against the Phillies, that was the homestand. Another nugget to give you as well. The Mets have been swept in a 3-game series for the 3rd time this season. They only got swept in 2 3-game series all of last year. So, seems like Nito's out of there as well. He posted something on his Instagram that it seems like he's out of there. So, I don't even know, man. I mean, the Mets might not even make the playoffs. I mean, this reminds me a lot of the 2021 Yankees, where it was so bad, it was so gross. There was no repairing it. Even though the 2021 Yankees brought in Rizzo and Gallo, there was no helping it. It was too far gone. You feel like that's the same thing with the Mets here. Even though the Mets can go to the trade deadline, can call up young guys, all that stuff, you just feel like it's too far gone. They're in 3rd place in the division. The Miami Marlins, the payroll differences between the Miami Marlins and the New York Mets is absurd. Mets are 2 games out of a wild card spot right now. If the season were to end today, the New York Mets would not be a playoff team. They wouldn't be. Would not be a playoff team. Isn't that something? That's crazy to think about. If the season were to end right now, the Mets, all the money they spent would not be a playoff team. And again, you can look at the positive side of things and you could say, hey, they've got 102 games left. They're 60 games in. They've got 102 games left. They can turn it around. You still do have the trade deadline. What is that exactly going to do? Who knows? But you could also look at it as you're 60 games in and his team looks worse. His team finds a way to hit new lows. Like, it feels like this might have been the worst series of the season. And you feel like you've said that about 5 times about this Met team, and you feel like another one's coming soon. And again, they had their opportunity. Their upcoming schedule, they've got the Braves, they've got the Pirates, they've got the Yankees, they've got the Astros coming up, they've got the Brewers. I mean, strap in. The Mets are getting to one of their harder stretches of the schedule. And they failed to win the easy games, and now they've got to face the tough games, and this team can get buried under 500 here soon. I mean, there's a really good chance they come out of Atlanta 3 games under 500. There's a good chance. I mean, there's a good chance they get swept in Atlanta. The pitching matchups for Atlanta, Bryce Elder versus Carrasco. Elder's been amazing this year. Game 2 of the 3-game set will be Scherzer versus Charlie Morton. And in Game 3, you'll have Verlander versus Spencer Strider. So you're getting the Braves' best and you're getting the Mets' best in Games 2 and 3 with Scherzer and Verlander. So they're going to give you a chance. Can the Mets' bats put enough together? Who knows? But there's a chance the Mets on this 6-game road trip, there's a chance they go 1-5. There is. They might win a game against the Pirates. There's a chance they get swept by the Braves, and they come out of this road trip 31-35. That's how bad it is. Now that's rock bottom. That's like awful. That's like the worst you can ask for on this road trip. They go 2-4. Do they find a way to go 3-3? I don't know. I don't think they're going to go 4-2. I don't think they're going to win either of these series. But we'll see. We'll see. Again, just another horrible loss yesterday. Another one of these series where, like, they sweep the Phillies. They get back on track, right? And then they and anytime the Mets take like 3-4 steps forward, they take one giant step back. Take a couple steps forward, one giant step back. It's really what it's been. And that's why they're 30-30. That's why they're an average baseball team. That's what the Mets are. They're an average baseball team. And again, everyone, I don't like the phrase, they're treading water. What are they treading water for? You know, and I want to give you some context on that. Like, the Yankees earlier in the year were treading water, but they had guys coming back. What exactly do the Mets have coming back that's going to help them? Nobody. It's not like the guys are on the IL. It's not like there's guys hurt. It's, sure they can make trades, sure they can call up guys, but that's only going to do so much. I mean, the Yankees at the beginning of the year, they went through a stretch with Judge on the IL. Stanton was gone. Like, they had lineups that consisted of nobodies for the first part of the year, right? But you saw those guys coming back. There was at least light at the end of the tunnel. For the Mets, there's nothing. You can only tread water for so long. And it seems like the Mets right now are, with this schedule coming up, it seems like this idea of treading water is just going to go right off the side of a cliff. So we'll see. Anyway, got a lot to get into tonight. Good amount of sports on, good amount of baseball on tonight. Yankees and Mets both will have the night off. Mets will hit the road. Yankees will obviously come back home for a 6-game series against the Sox. They'll face the White Sox first and the Red Sox second. Tonight you got Game 2 of the Stanley Cup. Panthers, Golden Knights. Game 1, Vegas took. Big third period. 3 goals in the third. Take Game 1. Panthers will look to even it up before heading back to Florida for Game 2 on Thursday. When you look at the baseball games tonight, decent amount of games. You got the Rays, Red Sox, Royals, Marlins, Phillies, Tigers, A's, Pirates, Astros, Blue Jays, Brewers, Reds, Rangers, Cardinals, and the Cubs, Padres. Those are your games tonight. Again, the NBA will get Game 3 on Wednesday. Back in Miami, series tied 1 game apiece. So we'll see how all that plays out coming up here on Wednesday. So that'll do it for the Monday pod. We'll have another video up tomorrow. I got special video coming up later today, so stay tuned for that. Super excited for that video coming out. So stay tuned today. That will be out a little bit later. We'll have a normal podcast coming tomorrow. Probably have a live stream tomorrow. I'll probably do a live stream tomorrow. I don't know quite what just yet. I might just do a Yankees live stream. I might do all sports live stream, whatever you guys. Might just do another all sports live stream. Talk everything. So that will probably be tomorrow. But I'll keep you updated on that. I'll have a video up. This video up today. I'll have a special guest video up later today. So stay tuned for that. Super excited. Won't tell you who, but got to stay tuned. So stay tuned for that. Tomorrow I'll have a regular podcast up like this, and I'll probably do a live stream. When the timing of all that is, I'll figure that out. But I do plan on probably doing a live stream tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. A lot more content coming your way. So as always, hope you enjoyed it. I will see you all back here tomorrow. And thanks for watching.